Welcome to the Jerry Gray Show. This channel talks about narcissists. I want to go ahead and jump straight into the topic, but first, make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so first, here's an update on the channel. I'm about to start adding like some art here and there, just to spice things up a little bit. I think I can take the channel to another level, but I'm gonna keep trying to level up the channel. I haven't been in a position to really do it the way I want to, but I'm going to at some point. I have to. Like it's like that serious. And I'm also going to be uploading a whole lot. Like when I say a lot, like I'm talking about I'm trying to upload like 10 times a day, maybe more, just because I'm trying to get the ball rolling, and I really want to go full time on YouTube at some point, or at least like close to full time, and just get a part-time job, because I really want to do something else other than just YouTube. I want to pursue art a little bit heavier than what I've been doing, and it's like the only way I can do that is if I get my channel where I want it to be. And I just got a YouTube check the other day, and I was like, I hadn't gotten one in months because I hadn't been posting, and I was like, you know what, this could actually work, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with that, you know. So if you see a lot of posts, just know that there's a rhyme and reason behind it. And so anyway, I wanted to talk about, I guess, all right, so I want to talk about how people turn people against you, whether it's a narcissist or just somebody at work who you've offended somehow. How do they do it, and how to defend yourself from that? This is like a core principle that people use, and it works so well. It's like the bad guys on the planet, the evil doers on the planet are nothing like the comic books. It doesn't take huge missiles. It doesn't take an evil laugh and a really evil plan to do major evil on the planet. You just have to master basic concepts, and you do those basic concepts at a high advanced level. So one of the concepts, like there's a whole bunch of little concepts that people say all the time, that you hear all the time. Like one of the ones that I love the most is you give somebody something that they want, and they'll give you what you want. And people, that goes over people's heads all the time. But that's like a foundation in business. That's like one of the most powerful concepts to make money ever. And people just think, yeah. And yeah, you can understand it on a basic level, but I mean, Amazon does this. Microsoft, Google, it's all based off of this concept. They just do it at a more advanced level. People don't understand that you can learn something that sounds basic and apply it at a more and more advanced level. So as soon as you say something like that, people, they won't listen to you. If you were to start talking to somebody about money and say that you were actually somebody who's got a little bit of money, people would be like, well, you're just telling me tell me the real stuff, you know? But no, that's the real stuff. And it's the same thing with evil. There's basic concepts. So the basic concept of turning somebody against someone is just getting people to think. Now, there's different ways to do it, but this is the most common way. This is how people turn all your friends against you and turn all your family against you. It's just getting people to think that they're better than you. That's the main concept behind it. And they could just come around you. The people, they just come around you. They act like they're your friend, and these people will act like they're the best friend that you ever had. But behind your back, they're not just talking trash about you, which is everybody's thinking, yeah, they're talking trash about you. No, it's not just talking trash. It's everything that they do. It's how they look at you, how they say your name when you're not around. They can say it with a certain type of contempt. They can criticize you or criticize and also start off with a joke. Usually stuff like this starts off with humor. That's how they can turn your best friend against you. Your very best friend can be turned against you just by people joking around and shit. You know what I'm saying? And you don't think that it's a big deal, and they don't think it's a big deal. It's just funny, you know. We're just joking around. I'm joking around. I joke around about that with him to his face. We're playing, but it slowly turns into something where it's ridicule, and ridicule turns into people looking down on you. And eventually it'll turn into contempt, outright contempt right in front of your face. And then you and your friend will be fighting. You and your friend, somebody who's you've been cool with, next thing you know, you guys are actually going at each other's throat because it bothers you more. It's like, how can you look down on me? And you don't even have that language, right? You don't most people won't describe it like that to themselves, like, oh, you look down on me. They'll just start fighting with each other and not even understand exactly why. It's because, again, it's because that person, the original person, made your friend look down on you, starting with just a couple of jokes here and there, criticisms here and there, and it builds up. And it's surprisingly easy for people to do this. And this is what white supremacy is built on. And that's how it started, just like a little concept. People have noticed that you can do this, and little kids do this concept. Like I said, I don't know if I said it in this video, but I've had my older sibling used to do this to me all the time. Like when we would move, I was a military brat. We'd move. I'd end up going outside and making a bunch of friends, and we'd be playing, and all of a sudden my older sibling would come around, and we start off, everything's fine, and eventually everybody's going at me. Everybody's turned against me for some reason. And then next, I'm being excluded, or I'm fighting the person. I'm fighting somebody who was my friend, you know what I'm saying? And it's little kids do this, but it gets applied at a higher level. That's what white supremacy is. Basic concepts like this is the same thing, where you take an attribute like skin color and you really convince people that they're better, and people have a weird thing about thinking that they're better. They will believe that. And they also mistreat people. And it's something that they can't not do. If you think that you're better than somebody, the relationship's over. They say there's this guy who said it's like one of the main things that shows you that the relationship's over. Once contempt slips in, then you can't even salvage that relationship. And so people have noticed that when somebody thinks that they're better than somebody, people start to just straight do all types of stuff and acting weird around that person. And it's almost like you bring doom on them. So that's what your narcissist does. They slowly go around, and it starts off as playing, and it starts off as, next thing you know, everybody that's around you is laughing at you. You're the person you're the laughing stock of the group all of a sudden. You're the person who everybody's picking on all of a sudden, and then eventually it'll bother you. Next thing you know, you're arguing or fighting with your real friends, or people who were your real friends, and then you're getting separated from the group, or you're getting to the point where the narcissist, the person who actually started it, is the only person you can depend on. They're the person who stays friendly to you, even though they've built all of this around you, and your life starts to fall apart. They go and start sabotaging you when you're not around. And that's the same thing with white supremacists. A white supremacist took this basic concept and they put it on a color basis. This is basic. This is something that kids do. Kids can understand how to do this to people. And now at this point, once you can convince people and you start slow, you actually act like you're their friend. You're your target's friend, the victim's friend. You're really nice to them. That's what white supremacists are. They're extremely nice. These people, most of the average white supremacist is not mean to black people. That's not how you take over somebody, by being mean to them. It's like, that's basically putting it right in their face. We're at war. That people are smarter than that. They're friends. They're going to be very friendly to you, and they're just going to slowly build this thing around you, and you'll eventually get consumed by it. They're dooming you. They don't have to tell the doctor not to take you seriously, not to help you now. Once the doctor thinks that they're better than you, they're going to do that all on their own. Once the police officer, which law enforcement, thinks that they're better than a group of people, somebody's going to get shot who shouldn't be shot. That's the type of thing that happens. And it's a very simple concept. And it's something that I call it dooming. You're dooming this person, and it spreads and it spreads and it spreads. And the next thing you know, that person's whole life comes apart. And when you even start to have something where it'll actually start working for that person, the original people that started this will go out of their way to take that apart. They'll sabotage that to make sure, that one thing that you're doing that works, let's take that out of the game, and you go back to being doomed, and that's basically what it is. In America, black people are doomed. It's dooming. They've doomed us with the media and by just convincing people that they're better. Simple as that. It's a very simple concept, and they do it in more advanced ways. Now you don't have to say it anymore. You don't have to do it behind closed doors. You can just do it with your media now. When the foreigners come over here, you just say, man, you aren't like those black people, and you da 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 da. That's all it takes. And that person, once they hear something like that enough, they're going to be a problem for the black people there. And it's a weakness that human beings have, where if they get an idea in their head, that's the reason why people will say, well, I judge people. I prejudge people. Yeah, I do. I do that. But they don't say that they also mistreat the people they prejudge, and that's what ends up happening. If you can convince somebody that they're better, they're going to mistreat that person, and it'll be something that's always on their mind while they're around that person. They're never going to, it's almost like they're going to dehumanize that person right then and there, just by thinking that they're better, and yeah, so I've explained in this video how it works. It works from the ground up. Kids can do it, and it can be applied in government, and it creates a massive, massive problem. If you are a doomed person, you got to make sure first of all, you don't talk as much, because people are going to take what you say and misconstrue it. You just talking a lot. Some people talk too much whenever they, and then they get surprised by that. Like, no, I didn't mean it like that. People are looking down on you. You're doomed. So if you say something, they're going to misconstrue it at some point. If you keep talking, no matter what you're saying, they're going to find a way to take it the wrong way. And next you know, somebody's being hostile to you. And that's what happens all the time. All of a sudden, somebody's hostile to you, and you're like, you don't understand why. I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, that's the type of stuff that happens when everybody's been convinced that, that they're better, or they really believe that you're inferior. It's like that's one of the most powerful concepts. That's like the real evil of the world, the real evil way of taking over and conquering a people. Especially if you put people in positions and stuff like that, where just having people having different positions, they're going to abuse that, without you even having to say anything. And then, it becomes a huge mess. And it's a simple concept that you have to, like, individually, understand it and make sure that you don't put too much out there. People are going to take you the wrong way. That you have to be polite all the time. You can't get mad and stuff like that, because everybody who comes into the situation that gets called in to handle that is going to be already hostile to you. So if this is happening in your everyday life with your everyday family and friends, that's the first thing you want to do. Stop talking so much. Your friends and everybody's going to take everything out of context. Don't talk as much. Second, you want to put space between you and the people that they're trying to use to doom you, and third, you want to make sure you have an outside type of source of thing that you're going to do, whether it's like, as far as like your life goal. You don't make it where it's something that's contingent upon somebody else's approval. If you're a doomed person, you want to have goals where you can actually be the person to put the thing out without anybody else's consent. Doesn't matter what other people are thinking. If you want this product made, you just make it, and it's not, I'm not talking about just making a choice. I'm talking about some people take positions or try to, work their way up in a company, or try to join a company and stuff like that when they're in a doomed category of, you know what I mean? That's not going to work for you. You got to make your own company if you're coming from a doomed perspective. And also, so just in that alone, as far as like your health goes and stuff like that, you would have to take more control over that too. Like, you know how people say, well, you're not a doctor, don't you at the end of the day you got to be a doctor. No, you read medical books on your own and you try to be your own doctor. And if you get it wrong, then it's not like you're able to give yourself medication that's going to hurt you. There's very limited ability to really hurt yourself if you even get stuff wrong, because they're not going to do stuff that they're going to eventually catch it if it's wrong. So that whole thing where, oh, don't diagnose yourself, that goes out the window if the people that are dooming you are the ones that you're going to have to go to for help. So no, that goes out the window. And traditionally, yeah, you don't want to diagnose yourself because you haven't gone to medical school for X amount of years. But if you're doomed, the whole logic changes, the wisdom changes. You still have a lot of black people who don't want to open up a medical book, not because they're lazy, but because they're like, well, I don't want to be wrong. I'm not a doctor. I mean, if I just read a couple things, I'm going to have major blind spots. I'm going to end up saying something or thinking something that's wrong, and it's going to make the situation worse. But really, you probably can figure stuff out on your own. Even if you're reading medical books and stuff like that, you can figure out what's wrong with you. So yeah, if you're a black person who's in a you're a doomed person. So you should be trying to get it on your own. And the same thing like with stuff like fixing your car and stuff like that. You don't wait to have somebody, anything that you need, you have to learn how to do yourself. Because you're not going to have the type of money to always be able to get stuff fixed. That's just impossible if you're in a doomed category. You're going to have to learn how to fix your own car and be good at it and be good at diagnosing it. So you would, and at the same time, as soon as you start doing that, if you're a black person, normally people are going to say, hey, you're not a mechanic. Like if you were to start talking about what's wrong with your car, or you guys start talking about cars, what's wrong with their car, people are quick to tell you that you're not a mechanic. Go get somebody else. That's what black people do all the time. It's a way of gaslighting. You know what I'm saying? Telling you over and over again, well, you're not a mechanic though. Why don't you go and get it fixed? Go get the money and get it fixed. You're not a mechanic. And it's like, dude, shut up. We're doomed. We can't rely on the people that are dooming us to fix all of our stuff that we need. You idiot. So that's basically what it is, where there's a lot of black people that are taught not to learn stuff on their own because they're like, well, I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to make it worse. Well, yeah, you could, but there's a chance it's more likely that you'll make it better if you know more about it. So everything that you need, medical, transportation, everything that you need, you have to be taking charge of that. It's the same concept of, if you have a goal in life, you're not going to other people to like, well, let me submit this stuff and see if you like it to hire me. And in a situation where you're in a disadvantage, yeah, they're not going to hire you. So you make your own. You make your own thing. You fix your own car. You learn about medicine on your own. That's how you start to undo the dooming in society. There's too many people that are afraid to do stuff like that. I can't, and then a lot of black people are just weird about stuff like that, but they'll be the people that are walking, when their car breaks down. You can be weird as you want and start an argument when somebody brings that up all you want, but you'll be the person that's walking. And that's just simple. Or catching the bus, or just not being able to get what you need. That's pretty much what it is. In black society, traditional wisdom, yeah, it's better to get a mechanic who knows what they're doing to get things done. But traditional wisdom like that in society does not work when you aren't really a part of society. You're a doomed category. So you have to do things different. You have to think differently. Yes, Yes, you've been taught a certain way, but no, that doesn't apply to you. And you expect that even when you do get the money, and that's another thing that black people do, is we assume that if we do get the money and we do pay a mechanic, that they'll do the job right. Even though we know that that's a good chance that you aren't going to get the job done right because you're black, they aren't going to do the job right, or they'll try to get over on you. But people stop their thinking short of that, and they're like, well, no, the traditional wisdom is you should just get a good mechanic, or you should just get a good doctor, or you just need health insurance. And then you get the health insurance, and then you go to the doctor, and then the doctor doesn't do anything. You just pay them. You just pay them, they take your money, and then they don't do anything, And then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, you're supposed to learn it on your own, But, that's the same thing in if you were dealing with a narcissist who's trying to take over your life. You got to stop with the dependence on other people, like even just for friendship or for loneliness and stuff like that. You don't go to other people because you're lonely. If you get lonely, you go to your own craft. You build your craft. You do things like that. At first, you get that down first, and then you start taking back your group. But if you're that type of person who's so dependent and you start trying to fight with them on that, they're going to overpower you just because you're too dependent. You're weak. You're coming from a weak position. You got to strengthen your position first. You don't need any of your friends. You need to set it up where you don't need your family. You don't need them. That has to be set up first. If anybody attacks you like that, you got to set that up first. I don't care if you side with this other person. If you do that, go along with them. I don't care. That's what you need. And then once you get to that strength, that level where it's not just an attitude, but it's literally your life is set up like that. You got your ducks in a row. Then you can battle. Then you can play chess. But if you're not in a position to play chess, don't go to war. You know what I'm saying? Don't if you're not in that type of position to fight, then don't start fighting. Get yourself strong first. That's the key. And then nobody can come and overpower you and take over your friends and stuff like that, because your friends will know, what I'm saying, man. I mean, they'll know, what I'm saying, it just won't go the same way. You won't get in the same type of arguments and fights because you don't care anymore. You don't need them. They can be replaced, and they know they can be replaced. And you can see this coming, and you can straight, separate them without being needy. I need a bunch of friends. I need a group of friends. Well, why are you guys not inviting me? Now you're chasing them around. It's like, wait a second. The first time they don't invite you, you know what I mean? Like, first of all, my schedule is already more important than hanging out in a group of friends in the first place. I got stuff I got to do. So if I made some time to hang out with you, and you know what I'm saying, you mess that up, we're not going to be hanging out just because of that alone for a long time, because you messed up my time. Not because I'm angry, but you messed up my time. So you got to come from that type of perspective. Instead of being like, oh, well, the next time, now I'm really going to try to make sure I'm going to call them and keep sending them text. No. And then eventually you get rid of the whole ridicule type of thing. All that type of stuff falls apart when you're strong. And that's basically all I have. Oh, and a very important piece that I forgot to mention. The narcissist is going to eventually run this person off anyway. They're going to find out. Your friend who's being stolen is going to find out that this person is a narcissist. So you don't have to sit up there and really battle for them to be your friend and get them back and take them back like they're a princess trapped in a castle with a dragon flying around it. You're not going to even punish them. It's not a big deal. You go and do the things that are actually important in life while they're going and running around with your buddy. And eventually the narcissist is not going to be able to hold up that constant happiness and constant friendliness, that fake friendliness that they always have for the person they're trying to take away from you. They act like they're an angel, but they can only keep that up for so long. So they're going to drop it at some point. At some point, they're going to drop it, and then your friend's going to come back to you and be like, so-and-so happened. And then you start to pull them back. You know what I'm saying? Then you know what I mean? You let them know, well, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to call them a narcissist. You just let them know how you felt about how, them running off. And then you invite them somewhere else, and then let them know if that keeps happening, we ain't going to talk anymore. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how it is. They'll get the point. But as far as you trying to battle with them, don't battle with them. Just let them learn on their own. They'll come back. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, they'll come back. So, and you make it happen faster when you withdraw yourself, because the narcissist has to have a punching bag to maintain, to get out that cathartic negative energy on you, so that it can be the beacon of positivity to your buddy, your real friend, right? So then when you withdraw yourself, they can't maintain that anymore. And eventually it's going to show to that person, oh, this person's a demon. What am I doing here? And that's just kind of how it happens. That's how you maintain control, by just staying cool and being patient. Patience. It's chess. It's not checkers, man. It's not Tetris. It's chess. That's the game, man.